Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to Financial Fitness. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. In this video, I'm going to talk about whether upgrading from the Fold 3 to the Fold 5 is worth it. Let's go over all of the improvements that at least I've noticed between the Fold 3 and the Fold 5. From my experience using the Fold 5 over the past 3 to 4 days, a couple of them can't really illustrate well in a video or on camera, but I think the main two are the weight difference between the Fold 3 and the 5 and the hinge. The hinge is a lot smoother and does fold flat now, which makes it easier to hold in your hand and get a better grip on the phone when you're taking it in and out of your pocket or just using it, even folding and unfolding it. In terms of the weight, is about 20 grams lighter, which brings it closer to just a little bit heavier than an iPhone 14 Pro Max. The Fold 5 actually feels more like a normal phone in terms of weight, not in terms of, overall bulk, than the Fold 3. The Fold 3, if it's in your pocket, it kind of just feels like a brick. The extra weight from the Fold 3, you would never have that feeling where, oh, I might have forgotten my phone, because it's significant enough that you'll know if it's in your pocket or not. And then the third one would be the difference in width between the two outside displays. The Fold 5 has a 3mm wider outside display. It's not super significant when you're just viewing something on the outside display, although you can kind of see the difference with that, but it's more significant when you're typing on the two outside displays. What I've noticed is that I'm making less mistakes when I'm typing on the outside display on the 5 versus the 3. It might be a little hard to see on camera, but I actually tried to make them about the same height, but you should be able to see that the width of the keys are just a little bit wider on the Fold 5, which is on the left here. I also could have made the height of the keyboard a bit higher by about maybe half an inch. And so that just would have made the height of the keys a little bit taller, but it wouldn't have solved anything with the width. But so having both of the screens on now, you should be able to see the little extra width difference between the two, because the Fold 5 doesn't really have this extra solid piece right next to the screen. It just has the entire front as being the screen. So it is noticeable when you're actually typing. Between the weight, the hinge, and the slightly wider outside display, those are the three key ones. Could sort of say that maybe that it's worth an upgrade. Battery life improvement is especially noticeable on standby between the Fold 3 and the Fold 5, even though the battery is the exact same size as both the Fold 3 and the Fold 4 at 4,400 milliamp hours. So I'm noticing the difference mainly overnight. So after I go to sleep and then I don't use the phone for several hours, generally speaking, when I wake up, the phone has only lost maybe 1%, maximum 2% overnight, which I think is significant when you're comparing it to the Fold 3, where I would lose maybe up to 6%, 7% overnight from essentially not using the phone, except having Wi-Fi on me. I've gotten almost 6 to 6.5 hours of screen on time on the Fold 5, and the phone hasn't fully optimized yet to my usage since I haven't had it long enough. So typically the optimization time for the battery is about 2 weeks. So I haven't even gotten into the 2-week period yet, but I'm reaching over 6 hours of screen on time before the battery drains. I think that's a noticeable improvement for any phone, because even some of the other candy bar style phones have trouble reaching 7 hours of screen on time. So I think with the Fold 5 having basically two displays and one being significantly larger than any other phone, that's pretty sizable in terms of day-to-day usage. The cameras were upgraded between the 3 and the 5. I believe that all the cameras on the Fold 3 on the back of the phone were all 12 megapixels. Not that the megapixels are purely an indicator of camera quality, but the cameras on the Fold 5 are better than on the Fold 3. There was actually a hardware upgrade. The under display camera is hidden a little bit better on the Fold 5 than on the Fold 3, but the actual camera itself is the same camera, so the hardware did not change for the under display camera. It is still 4 megapixels. So I'm going to show the difference between the under display cameras now. So here's the Fold 3. And this is the same photo. So you should be able to see the under display camera right about there. And so based on how I'm tilting it, you can still see it at different angles. On the Fold 5, it's quite a bit harder to actually see the under display camera unless I shine the light on it just right. And something else to notice, the crease is less significant on the Fold 5, and it's not quite as deep even when you run your finger over the crease. But keep in mind, the crease really disappears once you start using the phone. And even viewing a photo like this, you can't actually see the crease unless you're looking for it and you're shining the light on it kind of just like this. Something else to point out is just the slight difference in dimensions because of that outside display. Here you should be able to see the height difference. The Fold 3 is just a little bit taller. The screen brightness is also significantly different between the Fold 3 and the Fold 5. The Fold 5 has increased the display brightness on the inner display to 1750 nits. As far as 1750 nits being a practical metric, I can tell the difference when I use the Fold 3 versus the Fold 5 outside. So when I have the Fold 3 on maximum brightness, it still struggles. And I have trouble seeing almost anything on the display at times. Whereas on the Fold 5, it can go to max brightness and it basically appears like I'm in an indoor setting with the screen brightness almost to max on the Fold 3. It is a significant difference. I don't know how often you plan to be using your phone in direct sunlight outside unless you're sitting in a park. It is noticeable for the few times that I did use the phone outside. The speakers seem to be more consistent and don't really distort at higher volumes or max volume like they would on the Fold 3. Not that the Fold 3 speakers were not good enough, but at the higher end of the spectrum for sound, the Fold 3 would start to distort the sound just a little bit. The hinge for the 5 is much slimmer than the 3. And also the Samsung logo is no longer embossed or engraved into the hinge. And you can see here the hinge is much thicker than the 5. This is a tough call on whether it's truly worth upgrading. There are a number of upgrades and improvements between the Fold 3 and the Fold 5. I think individually, each improvement alone is probably not enough in order to be able to justify an upgrade. But together, depending on which ones you would benefit most from, it could be worth an upgrade, especially if you have the budget for it. And also if your screen is starting to break down or something like that. I think that you can actually go either way and wait for the Fold 6 if you already have a Fold 3 if you're on a budget constraint. To me, I'm glad I upgraded primarily for the weight reduction. So now it feels like I'm carrying a more normal phone in my pocket instead of a brick. The width of the outer display, even though it's only 3 millimeters wider, is still actually a significant improvement in my opinion, primarily for easier typing. If you have fairly large hands, I don't think it will make that much of a difference. If you already have a Fold 4, this upgrade is definitely not for you. The only scenarios in which this upgrade is worthwhile is if you have a Fold 3, 2, or 1 and are getting a decent trade-in value for your current phone, or you're coming from a non-folding phone and you're interested in changing the way you use your phone and accepting that you may give up your tablet. I gave up my tablet when I got the Fold 3, and I can't go back to using one when I can carry a Fold with me all the time. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this video and found it insightful. Click the like button if you did, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notification bell so you can see when I post videos next. Feel free to leave comments, questions, and any topics you might want to hear about in future videos to get on track to being financially fit. See you in the next video.